With the success of the first season here on the PC ACC League of the Sim Racing Collective, it was the only right decision to come back for another. And well, we have 6 more rounds of absolutely intense action with the standings reset and the tables clean. We come back and you join us here in Spain at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, to kickstart the second season of what has already proven to be a fantastic championship of racing, with some returning veterans and some newbies deciding to see what they can prove amongst some of our greats. It should definitely be one to remember. Hello and welcome everyone. It will be myself, Zach Sweeney, talking you through all the action here on the James Parfitt Broadcasting YouTube channel. And well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this season can bring us. We go through 6 rounds of intense action here. First at Barcelona, then we go to Misano, and then to Brands Hatch, Monza, Indianapolis, and round off the season at Spa. A fantastic way to round off the season, and also with 6 completely new tracks that we didn't quite get to go to last time out, but 6 races, short and sweet, and well, each and every single one of them is proven to be quite good. We have got a 15-minute qualifying format followed by a 40-minute race, at least here for today at Barcelona, because when we get to Brands Hatch for the 3rd round of the season, it's 2 25-minute races, which is a different shake-up. Certainly something to look forward to for sure, but again, that's in 2 weeks' time. We've got Barcelona and of course Barcelona next week to look forward to before we get to that anyway. But 30 minutes left on the clock here in qualifying. We're on board with Sir Smoggy, who is a driver returning from last season, 3rd in the championship of course, and had a really good string of results towards the back end, taking overall 3 podiums across the entire season, which isn't too bad at all. We're going to see how he negotiates the Circuit of Barcelona Catalonia, running through turn 3 pretty nicely there, and then heading into turn 4, braking and just aiming yourself at the apex. Then you just really want to hold it as tight as possible as you then run through, leading the car to the exit of the circuit. Then you've got to quickly bring it back to the right hand side before you're back on the brakes for turn 5. Hug it in again as close as you can to the apex, use the track on the exit, and then just try and get the power down as you head towards the very awkward chicane, as particularly in open wheel cars, not quite the same in GTs, through 6 and 7 uphill. This is the tricky bit. Don't want to use too much of that curb there on that inside line. As you run uphill towards turn number 9, this quick flick to the right, not too bad there, negotiated for Sir Smoggy, definitely not too bad considering it's his first run. Then you head in towards turn number 10, the heavy braking zone, not quite been updated to the modern version here on ACC, but it's still a pretty good overtaking opportunity, especially again in these GT cars, through 11 and then into 12, this long right-hander that seemingly just goes on forever, then into sort of the slow and fidgety part of the circuit, this chicane, which arguably is not sort of the fan favourite at all, but you still got to negotiate it, hop, skip and a jump as you go through. Try not to take too much of that curb there on the left and the right, and that does seem to be a pretty good lap, flat out through the final corner for Sir Smoggy. Use the track on the exit, then keep the car in as straight as line as possible as you approach the checkered flag, and that's a 1:43.717. A good banker time there, of course, for Sir Smoggy, but there goes Sun, already up on a 43.52 tenths quicker as Gian Hamling gets himself into P4. Then there's Samuel Cholmondeley, 8 1/1000ths of a second quicker on a 43.497. So already proven to be a fairly close qualifying session indeed. On board at the moment with Bailey Thompson, he's running very close to the rear end of that Aston Martin just in front of him, and not able quite to get the clear track he would have wanted. They're going to have a bit of a race down in towards the braking zone of turn 10, and that is not what Bailey Thompson would have wanted one bit, I'm sure, because yeah, braking, having to go for an overtake on your qualifying lap, not ideal when you want to be going as quick as possible. But he's doing his absolute best, I'm sure, as yeah, he just needs to get a time on the board. We've now got up to 20 people to set a time, a big grid indeed. I think we've got up to 44 drivers, if my entry sheet is correct. I'll just double check it, have a bit of a look. When does it start? So we've got 42 drivers because the cars actually start on the 2nd cell. So just get my maths a little bit wrong. But no, 42 drivers is a big grid, and hopefully we can retain this attendance for the entirety of the season. That would be a pretty good turnout. Yeah, fingers crossed. Of course, we do have a mixture of pros and AMs. The pros are the ones with the white numbers. The AMs are those with the red. As you can see, Blankensteiner is the first man in the AM category there, the 96 Mercedes with the red colouring on his number. He's doing a pretty good job up there amongst some of the pros. Some of our veterans, you can see there, Veloggio, who I hope still is running that Tiger Mercedes, because that was one of the highlights of last season, was that Tiger Mercedes. It was always an interesting one to go in, week out, and always have it on show. But yeah, interesting to see what liveries we can have on display. This is Blankensteiner at the moment, the leading am, as I say, going into the final chicane, just trying to improve on his lap times as he runs through. He's still got 9 minutes of qualifying left to go, so a couple of laps still on the board. And if he can improve, I mean, it would be a good bonus. There's Sun also topping Cholmondeley again by a further 2.5 tenths of a second. And proven that it is still going to be a fairly close qualifying session. What can Cholmondeley do versus Derek Sun in that Honda NSX? So Honda 1-2 at the moment actually as well. So Honda do seem to be fairly successful around the Spanish circuit. Here is the man in second place, joining Derek Sun on the front row, Samuel Cholmondeley, who again is returning from last season, 2.5 tenths back. Of course, he's got a little bit to improve upon, but don't forget, he has got a 40-minute race to make that time back up. And, well, in these GT cars, you can race pretty much anywhere and everywhere. So even if it's not the most exciting circuit when it comes to Formula One or anything like that, it can provide some excitement here in the GT world. And you can see there is now Nicolas Alvarado, the Argentinian, bringing it back into the pit lane. Guillaume Hamling, the Bauer Motorsport Lamborghini, still just trying to improve on his lap, and that is the thing you've got to do, is just bit by bit bring up your momentum, get into the swing of things a little bit better, and obviously bit by bit naturally your time will come down. That is how it usually works out. I mean, the track is optimum at the moment, so track evolution is going to play a factor. As the the track, it's not going to play as big of a factor, I should say, because the track is already optimum. But naturally, of course, as you've got 42 cars racing around the circuit, you are going to have more rubber laid down, therefore more grip. And more grip equals faster lap time. So expect there to be some quick times towards the latter stages of the session. Nico Veldman in the Audi. So we've got quite a wide variety actually of car choices. We've got Alexa there of is that Alex Skinner, I think, who was I don't think we saw Alexa's last season, so that is again something new, which we do like to see. We like to see people trying things out. We've got a wide variety of GT cars available on Assetto Corsa Competizione. So to be able to utilise each and every one of those manufacturers and their chassis is always a good thing. There's Anthony Schlatter just letting the Ferrari go through, and you're not going to quite be improving on his lap time on this particular go around. 7 minutes left to go in qualifying, still just shy of halfway to go, just under halfway to go, I should say. It's a lot to be decided, but yeah, really looking forward to how this season is going to go. We saw a pretty close championship fight up until the last round, where Jamie Nuttall didn't quite decide to show up. So all our previous champion, our reigning champion Matthew Brignara, had to do was just finish the race, and that was pretty much it. But over the course of this season, P2, P1, P2, P1, P1, P8, and of course a DNF for the first round at Kyalami for Matthew Brignara. He was on fire and was head and shoulders above the rest, but we don't have him on the grid for today. So it's someone else's chance to step up to the occasion and try and take the championship, unless Matthew Brignara wants to join in from sort of round 2. Well, I'll have to wait and see, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anyone else can sort of take the reins and show what they can do to the front of the field. And now Warren Mitchell down in P18. We've got a pretty close qualifying session from the vast majority of the grid. I mean, at the moment, the top 26 covered by 3.5 seconds is a fairly large gap, but considering you've got a variety of pros and AMs in the mix, different people of different experiences, I'd say 3.5 seconds isn't too bad, and still a lot of margin to improve for those people as well. Still Derek Sun lead the way. Cholmondeley not able to get onto the back of him at all. Same too with Sir Smoggy and Veldman, back just 6 tenths back, but still very, very close. I mean, the top 9 covered by 8 tenths of a second. You know, it's not too bad of some gaps to be averaging around. And again, still plenty on the cards for a lot of these drivers. 5 minutes left to go, so coming into their last couple of laps, last sort of 2 or 3, if they want to do them consecutively. And oh my word, that's Max Moto using his Ferrari in all different kinds of ways to negotiate T1. That is fairly sideways, and of course these GT cars do benefit. And there's the Tiger Mercedes. That's Volodya. He's back. We did see caught a snippet from there in the pit lane, so nice to see he's back. And the Estonian definitely doing the best he can in that Mercedes. I'm sure he definitely did show some pretty good pace last season, but how can he sort of improve on his results going into this? Victor Martin home race for them in the McLaren. And Spaniard now up into P10, so a top 10 for him, definitely not a bad result. But of course, still got the rest of qualifying and the race to go to decide that. Yeah, definitely, if you are watching along at home on the James Parfitt Broadcasting channel, do make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and do stick around for the rest of this season. We hope you are enjoying it at home, and I hope you do enjoy the coverage going through, particularly this first round. Hopefully we can get the season off to a cracker. It's always good to start the season off on a high, and then hopefully carry that forward throughout the rest of the season, even into Phil, and we've got Vulcan, who has definitely got a lot of friends in this race, which is lovely to see. Let us know who you're cheering on for. We know that Zukar is cheering on for Guillaume Hamling. This is the pole of Jasinski. Having a bit of a moment down into T1, having to overtake the Bentley, which isn't ideal, of course, especially when you're trying to put some good laps in. Singular Fish also rooting for Hamling as well, so a couple of guys rooting for Hamling in the chat. Where's Hamling at the moment? P10, so not doing too bad at all. There he is. Fantastic stuff, and a pretty nice Lambo livery. I'm not entirely sure if that was the Lambo livery that Vulcan was alluding to just a couple of moments ago, but hey ho. Oh, we got Derek's son fan also in the chat. He's doing quite well, so I mean, you're choosing the right guy. Hamling's your little brother, you feel obliged to cheer for him. Well, that's some brotherly love right there. See, if that was my little brother, I'd be cheering on for the complete opposite. I'd be cheering for the person that was beating him, but that's just me. Nah. It's nice. It's good to have that brotherly love, I'm sure. But here's Sir Smoggy, P3 at the moment, trying to improve. 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. And what could the German do? Of course, wanting to improve upon his go whoever crashes into him. Yeah, exactly. Sir Smoggy now across the line, didn't quite manage to improve on what he did, but only marginally. Actually, no, he didn't. I'm reading the wrong way around. His best time was 43.717. His last lap was 7.57, so not too far off, but again, you have to improve by about 4 tenths to see yourself on pole position. This is Paul Jackson. So his quickest time on the last lap round. Can he improve again on this time? Currently P24, and currently back now third in the AM standing, just behind Blankensteiner and Marcinek. He's now up to P19 overall, so not doing too bad for sure. But now we get into the final 2 minutes of qualifying. This is now crunch time. This is where the laps start to count. You have to put the work in. You have to put the lap in. Jamie Shaw, again returning from last season in the Audi, all the way down in P23. That is 6th overall in the AM, so I guess it's not too bad if he's Lincoln. Yeah, fastest AM. He's really doing quite well. Have to focus, of course, on the pros and the AMs. It was something I didn't quite get accustomed to at this time last season for the first round. I thought it was just one all big grid. No, there is the pros and the AMs that we have to look out for. They do start all as one continuous grid, but of course 2 separate championships to focus on. So that's something that we're going to have to follow throughout the season. Yeah, 1 minute left to go, and fortunately with ACC, it's not like sort of iRacing or Race Room where the clock ticks 0 and that's done, you're done. No, you do get time to finish lap, so as long as they start their lap within the next minute and a half, they are able to continue a lap and actually get it done. So Sesmogi's still trying to improve, but he's got Thompson just about 8 thousandths of a second behind, so pressure is on if he wants to retain this third spot. Now starting what's going to be his final lap in the Mercedes. Has he improved? Answer to that is no. He's very consistent though, 143.7s all around, so looking good in the race, I suppose, in terms of pace. Because if he can keep that consistency up going through the 40-minute race, he's definitely got no problem of succeeding and doing quite well. This is Ivan Tomasi, the Italian, in the BMW. Again, another driver who set his best lap on that last lap time by. I don't think he's going to quite be able to get another lap in. The second fastest at the abs, fighting with Marcinek and Jackson. And I will have to apologise if I do sound a little bit snotty. I have got something that's a little bit of a slide there from Ivan Tomasi. But yeah, definitely not feeling 100%, but still doing my best. So I do apologise if I sound a little bit phlegmy, as attractive as that might be. It's really not. It's ill. But hey, could not miss the first round of the season. This is going to be a cracker, I'm sure. Jack Southfield there at P6 at the moment. Qualifying is over the checker flag wave, so this is everyone's final lap times of the session. What can Jack Southfield do through the final corner? Currently P6, only takes half a tenth to see him up to P5, only a further tenth after that to get him onto the second row of the grid. And it's only P6, not quite good enough to see him up. Tom Marchinek, can he get pole in the AM class? Not quite. Second place is going to be the best that he can do, 17th overall. And we will have to keep an eye on our front runners. This is Chavinsky. Got about half the lap left to go. Does the pole. Derek Sun unable to improve upon his lap. He's took the checker flag, so it's all down to Chimondley, Thompson and Chavinsky to get those laps in. What happened to Sir Smoggy is what I want to know. He was up there. And why has he suddenly disappeared from second place, or third place, I should say? Whether he's got disqualified for some reason or another, I'm not entirely sure. But hey ho, this is Victor Chavinsky. Oh, rage quit, typical. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, Andrew Pike Pro Amps, but it does look spot on. Yeah, I mean, it's a good mix of the pros and the AMs. You can see where sort of the cut-off point is, where the AMs and the pros are going to mingle, and this, that, and the other. Chavinsky, though, across the line, is it an improvement? No, it's not. So P4 is the best that he can go for. Just waiting for the last couple, and I think that is going to be the end of the session. So before we just wait for the race to get underway, we will go through the grid order as they line up. Derek Sun takes pole position, 2 purple sectors. Chimondley will join him on the front row there in second place. So Sir Smoggy and Thompson, 3 and 4, lining up on the second row together with Victor Chavinsky and Veldman, 5 and 6. Jack Southfield and Davidson, 7th and 8th, with Alvarado and Guillaume Hamling round off the top 10. Victor Martin, P10, with Velogia, P11. There comes Courtney, P12, Moto, P13. Just in behind them with Van Vingden and Blankenstein. The pole for the AMs rounds off the top 15. Mitchell will just be in behind him there, alongside him actually on the 8th row. The good one, Marchinek and Tomasi there on the 9th. Jackson and McClory round off the top 20 with Marston and Jamie Shaw, P21 and P22 respectively. Then comes Jones, Torres and Schlatter rounds off the top 25, and that's all we can see for now. We're going to scroll down and have a bit of a look. Brian, Mormada, Skinner, Lawford, Davis, Dempsey, Wells, Rodriguez, Kanechi, Zlatan, Blacker and Sir Smoggy there right at the back. So he's not going to quite take to the third grid slot that he would have wanted to, but all the way down there in P37. Got a lot of work to do to work his way up. We will have a full formation grid, and with 1 minute left to go to session start. Do not go anywhere, and I'll join you for the formation lap. So now with only 4 seconds left to go until we get underway for the first formation lap of the season, Derek Sun is going to lead us away, and there's the Porsche just starting in the pit lane, so not entirely sure as to what's going on there, but we're waiting for the green flag to show to signal us away. And here we go. Season not quite officially underway, but Sun getting off to a pretty weird getaway for the formation lap. This, of course, is crucial to get the engine temps up, to get the tyre temps up, to get the brake temps up, make sure everything's in a prime operating window, as we see the Aston Martin of Southfield just get, again, a little bit too close to comfort to the rear end of Chavinsky. Honda OP does seem to be 3 of the 4 inside the top 4 are in Hondas. Derek Sun, Samuel Chimondley and Chavinsky all taking to that Honda, but then we don't see it all the way down to Mitchell, all the way down in P16. So I mean, whether it's car or driver or whatever, the balance of performance does do the best job as possible to manage everything, keep it nice and even. But of course, there's only so much that you can do. Naturally, track by track, week by week, different cars will play to different strengths, and we have got a very wide variety in terms of circuits to go to. Barcelona, as I say, Misano for round 2, Brands Hatch round 3, Monza, Indianapolis, and Spa to round off the season. And well, there's a lot to sort of play for. Big variety, as I say, because Spa and Brands Hatch are completely different circuits, completely opposite circuits. Spa, very sort of fast flowing, lots of straights, whereas Brands Hatch, typical club style circuit, twisty, tight and twisty, not really much in terms of straights. So of course, naturally, the cars are going to play to different strengths. And where's Lega? He's your favourite driver. Well, I've got no idea as to where he is. Maybe he'll join us for round 2, maybe. And Andrew Pike actually has friends. Of course, Andrew Pike was competing in the sim grid 6 hours of Suzuka not only about a week ago on November 6th, I think it was actually. Oh, it was quite a while ago actually, last Sunday. And it was actually doing quite well. It must be said, was getting carried, I think, by Kieran Sharp just a little bit, but I mean, he did still do quite well. So he's making some friends. It's a shame he's not actually on the grid for us this season, because he did all right alongside his best friend Matt Acton. Matt Acton 48, just trying to cover his bases. I'm sure Andrew Pike's going to disagree with that one and say you're about twice as old as that on a good day. Matt Acton, of course, he's 80-time oldest sim racer award winner. That should definitely be a VCO Simi, I think. Oldest sim racer. Speaking of the Simis, I mean, I didn't quite make it into the top 5, but our very own James Parfitt did make it into the top 5. So if you are interested in nominating for me, if you think he deserves it, go for it. We also have the likes of Luke Crane, Lewis McGlade, Arjuna Kankapati, and Paul Jeffrey, I think, is also the other one inside that top 5. But that side, we've got a race on our hands. We've got Derek Sun alongside Cholmondeley for the front row of the grid. It's all a bit of a weird kerfuffle. Not entirely sure as to what's going on as people try and get themselves into their 2x2 grid order. You can see Derek Sun pulling to the right-hand side. He'll take to the pole position. He decides when the grid goes. As soon as that green flag waves, as soon as the lights go out, he bows his way down in towards T1 to get this season underway. The Sim Racing Collective GT3 PC ACC season number 2 is about to get underway. It's a Honda front row lockout, and here we go. 40 minutes on the clock and side by side already for the race lead. Here comes the Mercedes of Thompson to make it 3 wide through the middle. You can see Sun on his bases. There goes Cholmondeley trying to go the long way round of the Mercedes, but there's Thompson up in a second place, at least for now. 2 wide, 2 rows deep, even 3 wide. We're there with the Jack Southfield, the Aston Martin, trying to work his way through side by side for the race lead, though, because here comes Thompson sending in the move down the inside of turn 3 and going from 3rd to 1st in a matter of 3 corners. Here comes now Sun under pressure from Cholmondeley, who's now kind of trying to go the long way around to turn 4. Not quite going to fabricate for him. There's the other Honda trying to have a bit of a look to the inside as well, and the McLaren trying to negotiate his way through that Southfield, trying to go the long way around to turn 5. But a perfect start, it must be said, for Thompson to get himself up into that position. Cholmondeley now trying to benefit off the sort of the knocked off Sun, knocked off his trajectory from pole position side by side as they run up the hill towards turn number 9. This quick flick to the right. I don't think Cholmondeley's quite got it in him in order to make that one stick. But as they head down the back straight for the first time, Thompson leads from Sun, Cholmondeley, Veldman and Chavinsky, your top 5. But that is all left to be decided. Here comes Nico Veldman, the Dutchman, sending one to the inside of Southfield, who again eyes up that move to the outside of turn 10. Able to make it stick for now up into 5th place, only momentarily, because the Audi is giving him a good old fight. There's Alvaro, the Argentinian, trying to have a bit of a look to the inside again, but that shorter run not quite good enough to match the momentum on the outside of the Audi. And as Mav Gardner is saying, a very clean turn 1 for the most part. This is Tom Marcinek up the inside there. And into the chicane for the first time, getting a little bit caught up though as everyone tries to concertina their way up. No contact being made, as already we've got McClory with a drive-through penalty on this opening lap. We tick off the first lap then of this season. 38 minutes left to go. A pit stop along the way. Chavinsky, interestingly, sets the fast lap of the race. This is Chris Davis, Team Rookie Monsters, a very prestigious sim racing team, of course. Now looking to the right-hand side up to get himself up past Jackson. Of course, these two are sort of separated in terms of class, but on track position, he needs to get forward And in terms of the AMs, it's still Blankensteiner that leads the way. A couple of places back, though, is Tom Marcinek. He's got Quinten van Vingden, who's moved up into the pros for this season, and Courtney as well, in between the two of them. So we've got a couple of cars in terms of track position. So Blankensteiner looking good to secure that AM victory, at least for now. Touch wood, never say never. Don't get complacent when it comes to sim racing. Jack Southfield, the team TSRC Aston Martin, still on the back of Chavinsky and making some good progress forward, it must be said. Going through turn number 9 and still very close between our top 5, top 6, pretty much everyone. Only nothing more than a couple of car lengths between each car. Thompson and Sun separated by 2.5 tenths, so look out for a fight for the race lead. Deep in goes the Mercedes, actually off track. That could invite Sun to have a look to the inside, side by side as they go through turn 12. Beached on the outside though is Sun. That could invite Tremonde to have a bit of a run, though Thompson with the mistake breaking in a little bit too late. Going into the braking zone. Did open the door for Sun. He's not going to be too happy that the Mercedes was able to keep that position, though still the fight rages on. No contact, no harm, no foul, and I'm sure that move is going to fabricate itself once more for Sun as long as he can keep the pressure on. Ooh, and Acton getting a little bit cheeky, having one too many Werthers, I think, at least according to Andrew Pike. But as we head in towards turn 1 again to start lap 3 of this race, Tremonde still on the back of his fellow Honda, 2, 3 and 4 side by side between Christopher Marsden and Sir Smoggy, who's making some steady progress already up to 18th place after starting all the way down in the 30s. In that grey Mercedes, you can see now up ahead of the pair of them, up ahead of Alex Skinner as well, up into 16th place. It's caused a bit of a kerfuffle further back though, as we can see that BMW and the Bentley going side by side as they run through up and towards turn 4. And there's Skinner under pressure from the Aston Martin of Marsden. Is he going to have the momentum? Not quite. Off goes the track though. That's Davis going off. That's unfortunate for him. He rejoins just ahead of Jackson, I believe. Or is that Momada? That is the thing about ACC. It's super awkward to commentate on because you don't actually know who's where and who's who. There it is. There's Momada. Trying to stay ahead of Davis for the time being. Unfortunately not able to. Again, in deep goes the Bentley. That could again invite the BMW to have a bit of a look. Also the Porsche of Troy are looking. Going to take the shorter run through turn 9, but not quite able to get himself ahead. Going to use the slipstream to his advantage. Momada holding firm on that inside line. Is the Porsche going to break late on that inside to go through the middle? Not quite able to. The Bentley the long way round. Oh, tapped round though goes Momada. Caused a big traffic jam and multiple cars. Veloci, you can see there that Tiger Mercedes as Momada very eagerly tries to rejoin the circuit. Goes through the dip, and that has really caused an upset for a lot of people. So a clean start, but it's all come to blows. Coming on to lap 3, now starting lap 4. As Thompson still leads the way, 1.1 seconds clear of Derek Sun. This is Davidson on the back of Guillaume Hamling. Is there going to be a move side by side a little bit further up because Tremonde trying to go to the outside of Derek Sun. Just caught it in the foreground of shot. You can see there still fighting. Chavinsky and Southfield also having a bit of a fight as they run through turn 3 again. And just tucking back in does Tremonde. Doesn't really want to fight Sun too much. There's Davidson getting sent by Motto in that Ferrari. Fight for P10, P9. Pretty much any midfield position rages on. Oh, there's the send. That is a big, brave, bold send. He's sent both of them round. They're both now pointing the right way still, but there goes Victor Martin in his home race up inside the top 10 after Moto and Davidson came together. He's not going to be complaining for a free extra position, but that was a pretty big send, it must be said, from Moto down in towards turn 5. You're not on the brakes for very long, but he gave it a go. Chavinsky just in behind Southfield. He managed to get ahead of him going through sector 2. Nico Veldman just in behind him as well. So a lot to be decided for in this race. Thompson keeping Derek Sun at arm's length, setting the purple lap time. And just maintaining that gap of around about 1 second. So really setting into this race and using his pace quite well. So the Honda quick over the course of 1 lap, but it's not quite been able to get off to the best of starts going into the race. We're seeing that Mercedes seem to have the better race car with Thompson and Sir Smoggy alike. Side by side between Victor Martin and Moto for P9. You can see there the Spaniard, the McLaren on the right hand side, Moto in the Ferrari to the left. It'll be the outside for T1, but if he can keep it there, it'll be the inside for turn 2. Though it does seem that McLaren has got the nose ahead going in, using the full extent of the track, trying to brake late, not quite late enough for the Ferrari. And Victor Martin consolidates that P9 very nicely ahead of Moto, Davidson and Blankensteiner, who for an AM leader is doing very well, mixing well amongst the pros. Of course, it's not going to gain him any extra points, but a bit of pride to say that he fought amongst some of the pros is definitely not a bad thing at all. Davidson now looking to the outside of turn 4, able to make that one stick. Brilliantly done. And meanwhile, all allowing Victor Martin to bridge that gap away from them. Interesting load though, back in front. Derek Sun has been able to set the fastest lap of this race and get back within a second of Thompson. So is it just going to be a topsy-turvy game between the pair of them? Is it going to be sort of I catch you, get away, and then sort of swap roles? One's quicker on one lap, the other quicker on another, and just play with the gap? But it does seem that Sun is closing pretty quickly. That gap now down to 0.6 of a second, back to how it was sort of on the lap 2, lap 3 era. There is Derek Sun on board, and how close is that gap? You can definitely see the Mercedes is within arm's length, trying to latch onto the rear wing, trying to stay as close as possible. And of course, as soon as they start fighting, that is going to bring back in Cholmondeley, Jack Southfield, Chavinsky as well back into the mix. Through the final corner, 0.6 back. We'll see what the gap is as they approach the checkered flag with just over half an hour to go. Already a quarter of the way through. 0.5 now is the gap between the pair of them, so very quick lap times being put in. And again, a purple lap time from Derek Sun at 43.912 on full fuel. And in race conditions, not too bad of a lap time, it must be said. Coming back to sort of the mid part of the pack, this is our AM leader at the moment, Martin Blankensteiner. The Dane is doing a fantastic job of mixing with the pros, as we said just a couple of moments ago. Getting away from Jamie Shaw, who's currently P2 in the AM standings. He's quite close with Alex Skinner though for that Lexus, so fighting for 16th overall, but second place in the podium places for the AMs, and we have got a good fight going on there for second in the AMs between Shaw, Skinner, Tomasi and Jackson, separated by not so much. And still we have a fight. This is between Elias Troyer and Brian. Oh, sorry, Marcinek. It is in that Bentley, because again, ACC doesn't like me, doesn't like anyone. It's Marcinek in that Mercedes. Mercedes in that Bentley. Don't even know how you can even get those two cars confused. I don't know. I don't know. It's probably the ibuprofen going to my head or something. Actually, it was ibuprofen. I took not paracetamol. Sorry, I'm just waffling here. At this point, it's Elias Troyer though. In towards T10. And Marcinek is doing a great job of hanging firm and staying in front. This is for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh overall in the AM standings. So crucial to get those points racked up as much as possible. This is the fight for 16th overall, because Courtney in front in that Audi over Alex Skinner has allowed Jamie Shaw to get away just a little bit. Of course, the Lexus is not going to like that one at all, so going to pull to the left-hand side and try and bridge the gap back up to the Audi just in front for second place overall. Looking to have a little bit of a look. Not quite able to, though. That is a shame for him, because meanwhile, all he's got is Tomasi putting some pressure on now to kick him off the podium. And that is, of course, not going to be what the Team Ricky Monsters car would have wanted at all. So trying to get the better run off of turn 3 and give him the inside look towards turn 4. He's going to pull out to the right-hand side. Is he brave enough on the brakes? Not quite. Though it does get given the space. Can he run it tight enough through turn 4 to get the drive downhill towards turn 5? Outside line. Going to give it a go, but has to tuck in behind. Has to concede that place, unfortunately, for Alex Skinner. Once you get overtaken once, it's hard to regain that momentum again. And all meanwhile, as we say, Shaw has been able to bridge the gap to just over 1.5 seconds. For second place in the AMs. But yeah, definitely, if you are watching along at home, as we say on the JP Broadcasting channel, Let us know your comments throughout the race. Let us know your opinions, thoughts and feelings as we run our way through. Don't forget to leave a like on the stream, and of course subscribe to JP, Viso Simmies, all this, that and the other. And of course, if you do want to get involved here for the Sim Racing Collective, do definitely take a look on their SimGrid panel. It'll be great to see some of you get involved. However, we cut back to the live action because a fight here fabricating for the podium between Samuel Cholmondeley and Jack Southfield. The Honda NSX versus the Aston Martin. Running his way through turn 3, getting a little bit of a better run. Two different lines there between the pair of them, between the Honda and the Aston. The Honda waiting a little bit longer to bring it back to the inside, whereas Southfield just opting to stay tight all the way around. Pit window is open as well, by the way. 15-minute pit window. They don't have to take tyres, though they do have to take some fuel. And that's going to be open for the next 14.5 minutes, so up until 10 minutes left to go in the race. Timing is going to be everything when it comes to that pit stop window. How long do you leave it? The longer you leave it, the clearer air you have to say you might have, though. If you want to come in early, get out of the traffic that you might be stuck in, and try and hope that you get some clear air, then that could be something also to bear in mind. So, the strategical element, even in only just a 40-minute race, is going to take precedence. Veloce absolutely in the bin. Well, his livery's not, I'll give him that much. Still, they're very close because Derek Sun is, again, running that fluctuating gap between himself and Thompson. Now it's just about a second, but Cholmondeley and Southfield have sort of working together quite well to close the gap. And as Andrew Pike said, Chad Southfield, that is, I don't know how to feel about you saying Chad. But hey-ho. Hip and down cool with the kids, as Andrew Pike, ladies and gents. This is Nicolas Alvarado, the Argentinian, being followed in by one of the Mercedes. That is a Blanksteiner, I believe. I'm not entirely sure as to who's actually into the pit lane, but yeah, it's Martin Blankensteiner, the leader in the AMS. Both of them coming into the pits, the first of those on the field to do so. So Smokey up now to P12, so quietly moving his way up and down the field. I say up and down, up the field, demoting people down the field. And has come from the back all the way now up into a position where he could be fighting for a top 10 with the pace that he showed in qualifying, with that consistency that we saw even on his hot laps. Jack Southfield. Still trying to find a way through, and it is proven to be quite difficult to overtake around the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya. Not really many places you can get it done. Turn 10, turn 1. We've seen places done in unorthodox places, but it just seems that people can't quite get close enough to get those moves done. So Jack Southfield is just waiting for that mistake. Waiting for the crack in the defences of Cholmondeley. He's also trying to catch up onto the back of Derek Sun. He's having to negotiate some lap traffic. The Porsche darting out the way, sort of scared off the circuit, and that has allowed them to close up the gap between Thompson and Sun, 1.5 seconds. So Cholmondeley wants to get in front, so too does Southfield, to be able to close the gap and fight for the race lead as we approach halfway through this race. .24 minutes left to go, 11.5 minutes left to go in the pit stop window. And there's Stravinsky getting through on that lap Porsche, as we just saw there in the background of shot. Now Jack Southfield still unable to find a way through, though he is arguably in a better position than Cholmondeley is in this train. Being second place in a train is so hard because you're having to look forwards and backwards simultaneously. Derek Sun is going to be under a world of pressure to retain this second place. Still with the fastest lap, but unfortunately not being able to stay with Thompson for the majority of this stint. Is Cholmondeley, the fellow Honda NSX, going to be able to find a way through? Is it Southfield that's going to be able to find his way through? The pair of them, we'll have to wait and see how this battle progresses. You can see the very brightly coloured Honda versus the very opposingly coloured Honda just in front. Both going to give it their absolute all. Bit of a twitch though from the NSX of Cholmondeley. That's going to invite Southfield to have a bit of a look to the outside. He's been able to get his car ahead, and that is a very, very weird mistake there from Cholmondeley. Not able to keep his car under wraps going through turn 9. Bit of a twitch, sent him wide. nearly sent him round, but Southfield through, up into third place, and now able to take the reins to close the gap and maybe go for a move for second place, because Jack Southfield, as we said, is looking quite quick. Looking feisty as well, practically pushing the Honda through the final chicane. Bit of a tap there in the background, not entirely sure as to what happened there between the two cars as Cholmondeley comes into the pit lane, so decided to make the lap count for something. If he's going to lose time, he might as well come into the pit lane while he's at it. Hopefully while Southfield and Sun fight over second place, so he can then benefit and get him well through. Tom Davidson also coming in, the McLaren of Victor Martin, I think, also coming into the pit lane. Here's Chavinsky. Now Moto ahead of him, actually, so Moto making some good pressure. Not entirely sure as to what happened to Chavinsky then, in terms of this fight, because he was running quite well with the lead group, but unfortunately he's fallen back into the clutches of the Ferrari, and has now succumbed, of course, to the pressure of the Ferrari. Now running through at turn 4, Chavinsky trying his best to stay as close as possible. Still waiting, of course, for the likes of Thompson, Sun and Southfield to come into the pit lane. Ooh, that is very sideways there from Chavinsky, going through turn 9, not able to keep it close. That seems to be quite a theme with the Honda NSX, actually. It seems to be quite temperamental going through turn 9, whether that be a theme with the drivers or the car not being too stable going through the high-speed sections. This is Guillaume Hamling trying to stay close with the McLaren of Alvarado and the Aston Martin of Martin a few seconds up the road. Stop-go penalties up and down for Tomasi, Marcinek, Lawford and Wells. Both of them all speeding in the pit lane. Guillaume Hamling, though, doing his best to get ahead of the Argentinian. Cholmondeley just in front of that, a few seconds up the road. So trying to make the most of the clear air that he has got. Bit of lap traffic, though, to negotiate to the outside of turn 8. That's not really the best place to get it done, but he's managed to make it work somewhat. Oh my word, big crash in the background for that Aston Martin. That is a fairly sizable hit. If he doesn't get in the way of the McLaren of Victor Martin, that is, yeah, fairly sizable. Again, Hamling, very striking livery. Here comes Derek Sun into the pit lane, same too with Chavinsky, so Smoggy as well, not too far back. So all of these guys taking their mandatory stop with 7 minutes left to go in the pit window. Derek Sun leaves the pit lane. Thompson's still out there, though. Where is Cholmondeley? You would have to say he is arguably the one most in contention with this fight, and nowhere in sight. About a couple of seconds back, maybe even more so. There is Cholmondeley. You can see there in that brightly coloured Honda NSX just in behind. Going through turn 3, and a few car lengths between the two of them. So Derek Sun doing a great job through that pit window sequence. But where are they going to come out relative to Southfield and Thompson? Because Southfield now has been able to spread his wings a little bit, use that pace to his advantage. Now into the pit lane for Thompson and Southfield. A race against time then for Sun and Cholmondeley, as they have to wait for Thompson and Southfield to go into the pit lane, fuel up and then leave. And they need to be quick, they need to not get bogged down behind this BMW and maximise this outlap for the pair of them. Nico Veldman also there, up to the P3 for now. Here's Bailey Thompson, the Winward Racing Mercedes, who's been leading the way. Started from 3rd place on the grid, made it 3 wide going down into T1, and then really hasn't looked backwards since. Made a small mistake going on to lap 2 and towards turn 10, but since then, not been under any pressure of anything, of any sort from anyone. Particularly from the 2nd place man of Derek Sun, provisionally, net P2 of course. We'll have to see how this one plays out though, relative to where Southfield and Thompson come out. Still in the pit lane, as he exits the final corner now. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to spot who's leaving the pit lane. And now exiting down the pit road. Down towards T1. What's the gap going to be? You can see there the Aston Martin. The Mercedes there is that of Thompson, who's got a speeding stop-go 30 seconds. That has completely changed this race. Because Thompson, the man who was seeming so unpressured, now with a stop-go 30 seconds, that's going to completely ruin his chances of even a top 10. And has now opened the door for the likes of Southfield and Sun to have a fantastic result in this race. We'll wait for it to reset. There's Sun, Southfield 2 seconds back, but Thompson, a huge shame for him. And it's so easy to do. All it takes is the most marginal things of speeding in the pit lane, even if it's not putting your pit limit back on when you exit the pit box, accelerating past the pit speed limit. And it's horrible. But he's got to continue on. He's got to do his best and try and salvage what he can. But a stop-go 30 seconds, it's going to cost him upwards of 45 seconds, 50-ish seconds, which is a big gap. Jack Southfield, though, merging in P3. He's still got Samuel Tremondley for company. There's Thompson, really shaken, you can tell, by the news of that stop-go penalty. He's not driving to the best of his ability, making those mistakes now. With Jack Southfield under pressure, we're going to see how this battle develops. Just over 15 minutes left to go in this race. Derek Sun looks perfectly poised to take this victory, of course. And we're still waiting for Nico Veltman to come into the pit lane. So that is going to relinquish the lead to Derek Sun, who took pole position, though hasn't been quickest on track, at least for the majority of this race. 25 minutes in, 16 to go. Now down the pit straight, you can see that Bailey Thompson peeling himself off into the pit lane to serve that penalty. Now Jack Southfield under pressure, having to go sort of to the middle of the circuit in as a precautionary defensive measure. Is Tremondley close enough? Darting to the right hand side, brave on the brakes, bit twitches, they go through. Jack Southfield the long way round inside of turn 2. Is Tremondley going to be able to get the up and under? Now going to be the outside for turn 3. It's a long way round there. He's going to go extra wide and try and cut back in to get the drive late apex on that run towards turn 4. It seems that Southfield is able to hang on, though defensive once more as they head in towards turn 4. Outside line for the Honda NSX, the black and grey Aston Martin trying to hold firm, goes in a bit too deep. Does that allow Tremondley back through? No, it doesn't. So already a valiant defense being put up here from Jack Southfield. Tremondley, though, relentless with the pressure. Outside line for turn 4, cuts back in again, trying to get the drive on the run downhill. And of course that was turn 5, not turn 4. But as they run through the chicane of turn 7 and 8, uphill again towards turn 9, you can see Tremondley is trying his best to stay as close as possible. This is the corner he made the mistake and lost the second place run to Jack Southfield just a couple of laps prior to this. And now he's trying to nail each and every single apex to retain that pressure and get back in front. Through the final sector. Time is not on the side of either of them. I say that actually, though, they still have a good sort of just over a quarter of this race left to go. So time is, it's ticking down, but they still have a little bit of it. Heading through the chicane again, hop, skip and a jump as you go through. You don't really want to mess up your momentum going through there. As horrible of a corner as it is an important one on this circuit. Jack Southfield, though, has got a bit of a margin down the pit straight. And even with slipstream, it doesn't seem that Tremondley is able to put up much of a fight. This is 3 wide for Guillaume Hamling, Tom Davidson, and of course Victor Martin also in the mix. This is really kicking off. Guillaume Hamling trying his best to hold station on the inside, though Victor Martin is going to try and go the long way around inside of turn 2. Of course, Tom Davidson trying to get the up and under on the pair of them now, side by side with the McLaren. Guillaume Hamling able to stay in front for now. But Victor Martin doing a great job for his home race. The Spaniard up now into P8 after starting sort of P11-12 area. And this is a lovely little fight. 5 cars, not all for position, of course, but all fighting over the same piece of tarmac. Now here's Connor Courtney to the inside of Tomasi, side by side. That was an aggressive move, but it worked out. And now to the outside of turn 9. This is going to be brave and bold. Makes it work. No, it doesn't. Oh, sent sideways. Managed to save it, though, with the traction control assistance. And that's probably the best in the unlucky situation that you're going to get out of that. The Mercedes now trying to carve his way through. That's Smoggy, I think. though not for track position. Conor Courtney letting them all back through, so I think feeling a little bit bad about turning in a little bit too abruptly and squeezing the inside line a little bit too much. Pit window is closed on this lap, so those that didn't quite manage to come in are going to get sort of shafted with a fairly big penalty.
Pit window is now closed.
12.5 minutes left in this race. Conor Courtney versus Tomasi. Down the pit straight once more. We are going to check back in at the front now. This is Victor Martin now up in the 6th place overall, just in behind Guillaume Hamling. Setting some good lap times. It's been very, very close all throughout this race. You can see there's Tom Davidson going defensive because Veldman, after serving his pit stop, has picked himself up a stop-go 30 seconds. So people not knowing the brake marker for the pit lane after it being taken out a little bit earlier on has really caught a number of people out, but most particularly, of course, Bailey Thompson, our previous race leader, now down into P16 overall. That's going to cost him dearly for this race and potentially even the championship, maybe. I know it's very early to say. I know we're not even a race in. But in a 6-round championship, you have to think about the championship early on. You've only got 6 races, only got 6 opportunities to make things count and to score those points. If you want to start sort of succeed in the championship, you have to get the ball rolling early. I mean, I do say that. Matthew Brignara, our Season 1 champion, did DNF the first race, but after that, didn't really finish off the podium until the final round at the Suzuka. So, you know, it sways. But ideally, in an ideal situation, you do want to get the ball rolling, get it out there quick, get some momentum, and get some points on the board. So for Bailey Thompson, over the course of the rest of the season, going to have some hard work to do to try and recover from Spain. Victor Martin, though, is going to try and up the move on Guillaume Hamling. Into the pit lane comes the Dutchman of Veldman, though. The Audi had a good run, had some good pace, and could have very easily succeeded inside the top 5, but unfortunately sped in the pit lane just a little bit. Victor Martin still on the back of the Lamborghini of Hamling. Neither of them under any sort of obligation to defend or attack. Between Derek Sun and Jack Southfield, the gap is growing to around the margin of 3 seconds. So Sun doing a great job after being handed the race lead on a silver platter. He's taking the opportunity with 2 hands and running away with it. 10 minutes left to go, 3/4 of the way done with this race. And Samuel Cholmondeley not too far off the back of Jack Southfield. They're about 1.2 seconds, not close enough really to start eyeing up a move just yet. You ideally want to be around sort of 5/10 of a second back. Victor Martin braking a little bit too late going through turn 5, it must be said. Now Warren Mitchell versus Elias Troyer. Down and towards T1, the Honda pulls out late to the left-hand side, brakes late as well, gives them the squeeze under brakes, door-to-door rubbing as they run their way through. Brilliantly done from Warren Mitchell, though back comes Troyer to the outside of turn 2, now the inside of 3, and now ahead still for P14. Warren Mitchell not able to do much. Johnny Woe saying Smokey is going to get P6. I mean, he's not too far off at all. Definitely not a bold assumption to make, especially considering his pace throughout this race. Warren Mitchell still unable to get past Troyer. Going to dummy to the inside of turn 5, maybe not quite. Now Tom Davidson, the fight for 6th still. Victor Martin, Tom Davidson fighting for 6th. McLaren though still under no pressure. Still trying to close the gap to Guillaume Hamling as well, which is going to be fairly difficult considering Hamling is sort of quite good at sort of keeping everyone at bay, and his defence isn't half bad either. Now Tom Davidson looking to the left-hand side. Again, not quite. Just having a bit of a look, trying to fill the rearview mirror up, put some pressure on, and that's exactly what he's... They're going to be a strategy, I think. It's the only way that we've seen drivers be able to get through is to force the mistakes. Now some lap traffic playing a factor. Running through, Tom Davidson trying to stay as close to Victor Martin as possible. Just over 7 minutes left to go in this race. Only a few more laps into the final portion of what has already been a pretty densely packed first round of the new season. Warren Mitchell still fighting with Elias Troyat into turn 10. Trying to get the up and under. Unable to though, still. We've got Bailey Thompson just in behind them, trying to recover from what has been a roller coaster of emotions for him. Started well, but when it comes to the pit stop window, not quite able to carry that through with the stop go 30 seconds. Now to the outside of T1 again. You can see the Porsche putting up a mighty defense, but swooping around the outside goes the Honda NSX. Also Bailey Thompson trying to get involved, follow him through the Porsche back through turn 3. That's going to open the door for the Mercedes to nip up the inside of 1, maybe 2. Gets a bit swamped on the curb though. That's not going to quite invite him through as easily as he'd have liked. Now through the middle, like he did on lap 1 to take the lead, this time only for P13. Oh, that is Warren Mitchell heading off into the barrier. Back up now to this fight for P7. There's Sir Smokey up to P8 now, darting to make it P7 to the inside of turn 1. Is it going to be hard fought as they meet the apex together? Davidson back up the inside of turn 2, though not enough to keep the charging Mercedes at bay. So Smokey up to 7th. Could it be 6th? Could it even be 5th? Johnny Woe, his prediction becoming ever more likely though, with only less than 5 minutes left to go in this race. So Smokey needs to get a move on. Needs to start making these places up soon. And ideally does not want to be under any form of counter-attack from Tom Davidson, because that is only going to trip him up and slow down his progress. So having a bit of a look does the 42, but Sir Smokey, all he's interested in is setting his eyes forward and getting up into that 5th place. 4 minutes left on the clock, about 3 laps left in this race if we're lucky. The gap is closing, and Victor Martin is keeping Guillaume Hamling on his toes as well. Jack Southfield closed the gap to Derek Sun, halved it in fact, from 3 seconds to 1.4. Keep an eye out on that gap as well as the final couple of laps play themselves out. Tom Davidson losing touch to Sir Smokey just in front of him. Losing the gap to just under a couple of car lengths. A couple of cars leaving the pit lane as well. There's Warren Mitchell and that Honda NSX after taking some damage not too long ago. Moto also joining this fight. So 5 cars now for 5th. A little bit further back. Fight between Marcinek, Brian, side by side as they run through. The Lamborghini keeping them honest. That blue, very blue Lamborghini. Looking to the outside of turn 3, though the sheer size of the Bentley able to catapult himself up now into 26th overall. 2 minutes 40 left on the clock. Coming into sort of the penultimate lap stage of this race. Back up to the front, Victor Martin, Sir Smoggy, Guillaume Hamling fighting for 5th. Sir Smoggy, of course, qualified P3, though started P37, and has since fought his way through the pack and could still take a top 5 finish in this race. 2 to go at the line. Boarding down all to this. Jack Southwood also within a second of Derek's son. Look out for that as we approach the penultimate lap. And now Victor Martin pulling out to the right-hand side. You can see the Lamborghini using the full extent of the circuit. That could ruin Martin's sort of momentum and allow Sir Smoggy to close the gap. We're going to keep our eye on both battles as they develop and progress and conclude when we reach the checker flag. Southfield 5 tenths back on Derek's son. Having to use both eyes to look at each battle as best we can. But Guillaume Hamling trying his best to not succumb to the relentless pressure of Victor Martin and Sir Smoggy. But again, you just get bogged down. If you don't get past quick, you start to trip over yourself, you start to slow down, you start to ruin some momentum, and you're waiting for a mistake to actually find your way through. Through the right-hander of turn 9, they are practically pushing each other through. Is Victor Martin close enough with the slipstream to go for the dive in towards turn 10? Is it a heavy enough braking zone? He's a little bit far back, but he's going to pull, give it a go. Not quite able to, and that's going to stop Sir Smoggy getting through, or is it? Because all he's going to do is ruin his momentum a little bit wide from the Mercedes. Going to invite Victor Martin to find a way through. Now to the outside of turn 12, bit of contact as they run through. Sir Smoggy now interested, gets his nose alongside the McLaren down and towards turn 13. Now Victor Martin sends one to the inside of the Lamborghini. Not quite close enough. And now as we approach the final lap, there's the dive from Sir Smoggy to the inside. Door-to-door contacts again as they run through. The Ferrari of Moto now wants to get involved. Going to demote Sir Smoggy down to P8. And that is not good for the Mercedes, who's now going to be under pressure from Davidson. Final lap of the race. The first round of the new season of the TSRC GT3 PC ACC League, and there's Sir Smoggy again diving to the inside of Moto, who's himself going the long way round of Victor Martin. That's a brilliant move if he can make that one stick. Bit of contact, runs him wide. That could invite Sir Smoggy through. Indeed it has. If he can bring it back down to the low side of the track, he's been able to do so. And that's him back up into 7th place. But Moto, yeah, he's going to love that move. I don't think Victor Martin is going to love it too much. Pushed a little bit wide on the exit of turn 2, he'll say. Contact as they run through, though. Moto is just going to say it's his corner and he could have done what he liked. We have to keep an eye on where our race leaders are, though. Derek Sun versus Jack Southfield. Interesting to see how that progresses. Here they are, Team TSRC in 2nd place, representing quite well. Derek Sun, our pole sitter, only got 1 sector left in this race. Can Southfield do anything to force a mistake, to find a way through? Or is it going to come to an anticlimax between the pair of them, though? Jack Southfield has done a very impressive job in this race to work his way forward, to have the blisteringly quick pace that he has shown. But I think it is going to go the way of Derek Sun. Just 3 more corners left to go. The left, the right, then the right again on the run to the checkered flag. It's going to be Derek Sun from pole to flag. That does not tell the whole story at all. He's been consistent. He worked through the pit strategy to perfection. Derek Sun comes across the line to take victory for the first round here at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. Jack Southfield just half a second later in P2 as Samuel Cholmondeley rounds off the podium there in P3, waiting for this fight to fabricate itself out and sort itself out between Guillaume Hamling, Moto, Smoggy and Martin. Their run to the line. It's only P7 for Smoggy, though it arguably could have been a little bit more. Victor Martin P8, Davidson P9, waiting for Chavinsky, who really fell off over the course of that race. Started in 5th, got himself up into sort of the top 5 train, but I'm not entirely sure what happened, just really fell off. Couldn't quite keep the pace, and it's only the top 10 for him. Alex Skinner, a few laps back in P11, will take the victory for the AMS. In the Team Ricky Monsters Lexus, not entirely sure as to what happened to our previous race leader. But Alex Skinner, final corner for him. He's going to take the AM victory by 9 seconds. Brilliant stuff. He's going to take the checkered flag and win for the AMs. Brilliant display. And it was, of course, the Dane of Blankensteiner, who was the previous AM leader, though unfortunately whatever happened to him has cost him. Veldman and Jackson and Thompson as they all cross the line. Here's the Estonian of Lodja in the Tiger Racing Team Mercedes, only P16 overall for him. Just waiting for the last few to cross the line. I think we are only just waiting for Christopher Marston in the Aston Martin to finish P17 overall. Then we'll run through the results as they stand overall, and then of course for the AM victories. But a superb race indeed from, as Andrew Pike says, looking forward now to Misano in a week's time. Then of course Brands Hatch, Monza, Indy and Spa, a fantastic calendar. Now with everyone back into the pit lane, we can run you through the results, then quickly wrap up what has been a phenomenal way to kickstart this season. Here are your results. Derek Sun takes the first victory of the season, marginally ahead of Jack Southfield in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Samuel Tremondley rounds off the podium there in P3 with the Argentinian of Alvarado in P4. Guillaume Howling rounds off the top 5 with Sir Smokey P6. Victor Martin P7 with Davidson P8. Chavinsky and Skinner round off your top 10 with Jackson P11. Then comes Veldman, Thompson, Troyer and Velogia, your top 15 with Marston in P16. Then comes Jones, Jamie Shaw and Quinton van Vingeren P19. With Courtney rounds off the top 20. Fernando Torres, not the famous footballer, in P21. Tomasi there, only P22. And as we scroll down to witness the rest of the field in just a moment, we see there Tom Marchinek, McClory, Brian, Rodriguez P26, Momada P27, Lawford in P28 with Blacker and Mitchell, your top 30. Zatan, Wells and Dempsey 32 and 33. Those are the ones that didn't quite manage to make it to the checkered flag. But what a race that was. It was fantastic action all the way through, and we can already see the beginning of what is hopefully going to spark a fantastic championship battle over the next 5 weeks on that lead up to Christmas. Something to look forward to, not only Father Christmas, of course, but the TSRC GT3 Championship. I certainly am looking forward to see how this season progresses. We've got some new names, we've got some old returning ones, as we say, and it is, at the moment, Derek Sun that leads the way in the championship. But what does next week bring? We will never know until we get there. See you next time then, in a week's time. I've been Zach Sweeney talking you through. But until then, guys, take care and bye-bye.